Might help if I turn the volume on. Let's try that again. So my name is Ashley. This is the Swift Wellness channel. If you've never tuned in to any of my live streams, this is probably not an unusual location for you to see me in, but if you are here frequently, you've probably never seen this spot. This is my kitchen. This is the tiny little kitchen that I talk about all the time. And like I said, I'm super excited to kind of team up or join in on the Make It Yourself Festival today. So you've probably seen some really awesome creators too already, today. So let's go ahead and just get started. Like I said, my name's Ashley, and I'm going to be going through kind of all of the plants that I love to propagate, kind of how to do that, and then also just kind of some of the items that I feel like you should just be using if whether or not you want to propagate your own or you just want, a bigger, better garden in your own home, right? So just a little bit different. I wanted to be slightly different for the Make It Yourself. So that's what we're going to kick off and start with today. I see that my lovely mother is in the chat. So if anybody has any questions, she's going to be simultaneously streaming with me and chatting too. So if you ask any questions, she's in the chat, so she might get to it before I do. If you're here or you were here in the earlier live streams this week, I did do a giveaway, so I will be announcing the winner of that. I have everybody's names loaded. And if you are new here, we're going to do another gift card giveaway for everybody else. So super excited to get started and get going today. First things first. Hey Jan's here today. Yes, thank you. Hello to Mama Rollins as well in the chat. So let's go ahead and kick it off. I have shared this propagation plant station before, so I did want to put that up in the kind of to lead it off. Because it hangs on the wall, I don't have it here next to me. I have my little test tubes, but I do have a little video that I can share with all of you, just to give you a little bit of an idea kind of how this works. So there are two linked down below. The one that I have is the very first one. You can see it's kind of a raw wood color. If you prefer the kind of more brown, almost kind of distressed wood, there is one in the carousel that is on lightning deal. Looks like it's a little bit under 50% claim, so definitely a little bit more affordable option. But again, I wanted to share the one that I had, just so that you could take advantage of that. So you can see it's a macrame hanging propagation station, and it comes with these little test tubes. So in there, you'll kind of see the different rows of the test tubes. These are just really easy to fill with water. So that station is 15 different little test tubes, so you can fill all of the rows. I hang it on my wall. It gets a medium amount of sunlight, so I feel like it's kind of best to propagate anything that doesn't need a ton of sun. If you're a succulent fan, we do have some of those as well, those options. But I am going to just use these for some of the more viney plants that I have today. So you can obviously take advantage of the one that is in the video, which is the very first one, and then I did just highlight the one that is on the lightning deal today as well. Hey Naomi, I did see your name pop up in my giveaway list, so I will be doing that super shortly. So if you are tuning in, I'm about to do that. I figured I would just kind of give everybody a chance to kind of jump in and see, and then we can go from there. So hey Lisa, thank you so much for the follow today. I appreciate it. Thank you for hopping in to our propagation. Hey, also Evans, I saw your name on the giveaway. Same with Kmart Kelly. Everybody's hopping in to see who won today. So why don't we just go ahead and kick that off then. So let me switch. over here. La la la. Okay, perfect. Let me switch. All right, so I have everybody's names loaded in, so I figure we'll just go ahead and do that right this instant. I already put everyone's name into this like fancy spinner wheel, so if you sent me the screenshot this week or since the last time we did one of the giveaways, then you'll see your name kind of spinning around there. So it's a completely random name generator, so I don't really have any control of it. Obviously, a lot of you are here right now. Let's see, control plus enter. There we go. So fun. If you obviously aren't here live, then I will reach out to you. Ta-da! So, and Evans is actually in the chat right now. I see you. So awesome. I will send you over. Yep, I got you. After the live stream, I will send you over an email so you can take advantage of that. I'll get all your details that way. So that like name wheel is fun. Like, all right, let's go ahead and get right into it then. So moving on, just talking about a few different plants, super easy to propagate, kind of all the ones that are behind me and kind of next to me. I did really want to pull out some plants that are pet friendly, but I find that a lot of the really like easy kind of to propagate ones aren't necessarily always pet friendly. So I apologize in advance. Let me see here. But there are some of these that are. So I'll point out obviously which ones are pet safe and which ones are not as well. So tabbing over, talking first and foremost, probably one of the easiest plants are a lot of these like philodendrons or pothos. They aren't the same, however, they are very similar looking, I think. I actually kind of like the heartleaf just because I feel like it's, I don't know, it's a little bit different than a pothos, smaller, and I feel like it grows really quickly, which is why I like it. So that one is right behind me. And like I said, I'm going to kind of go through the plants and then kind of switch over from there. And I do have them linked for both the plant as it is and then the planter that it's in as well. You'll probably see a lot of the same brands with the planters just because they're kind of my personal favorite. So this is your heartleaf. You can see it's definitely a really kind of great trailing plant. It is also kind of awesome just because it grows super fast, is very easy to grow. You can kind of ignore it. It puts up with a lot of abuse. I think mine right now needs a little bit of water, which is fine. This guy like is a little wilty, but they're very easy to grow for that exact reason. They pretty much kind of tell you what they need. So this is also, I'm going to highlight it here. This is also the planter that they come in. It actually is a kind of 2 set. This is the 4-inch size, and then there is also a 6-inch one as well. Both of them are the same style, but are both really kind of great options for that too. So just to kind of give you like a little bit closer up, I will point out that pothos and philodendrons like this aren't pet friendly, unfortunately. I apologize. However, very easy to propagate. So on here, you can kind of find the little nodes. Lisa says, congrats, I didn't miss that. I don't know what that was for. No worries, we've been doing a little $10 Amazon gift card giveaway. It'll start over again today. So Lisa, if you haven't already, just take a photo that you're following and then send it to that email right here, Swift Wellness, Amazon Live, and you'll enter to win. And then the next time that we do it, which will be Monday, so we're going to run it for this entire week, your name will be in that magical wheel. So kind of talking about philodendrons, If you're wanting to propagate them, they're also really easy to kind of figure out where to do that. So they do have these little nodes, so you can, let's see if I can get close enough. These right here, these little kind of almost like nubs that you'll see, kind of brown spots, pretty much at like any intersection here of the stem. That's essentially where you just want to cut. So you want to either cut above or below that little node right here, and that's what you're going to put into the water. That is where the roots will come out then in your test tube, in your whatever you're putting it into. I really like the philodendrons like this because they're really, really easy to do in water. So these are kind of the perfect plant to put in something like the propagation station, just because you fill this up with water, set it, forget it. So really, really good option there as well. Also tagging over what people like lovingly refer to as mini monsteras quite often, even though they aren't a monstera at all. They're not even in the same family, but people, you know, they're very, very, very similar to that. I think that's kind of where they get their nickname, but they are very easy to grow plants. So unfortunately, the mini monstera and the normal monstera, like the larger one, it's kind of hanging out right here. Neither of those are plant safe. I apologize. Evan says, I have that plant, it grows like crazy. Yes, I picked a lot of plants I feel like that grow like crazy. Heartleafs do, the mini monsteras do, your traditional monstera, they all grow super, super crazy. So I'm gonna set this one back here. So I have the mini monstera kind of hanging out here. It is kind of a vine-like growing plant, so I kind of have it propped up against the wall here. I have it kind of threaded through my bookcase. So I do have one that I did propagate right here. So you can see it gets its name as a mini monstera because it does have those same similar leaves. However, it is not, it's much more of like a vine. Just kind of like the philodendron. I was trying to see if you could see it here. They have the same very easy to spot, very easy to see little nodes. And so you're just going to cut right below them. I personally, again, another plant that I feel like is easiest to kind of propagate into water. I think that's the easiest way. A lot of the succulents that I have kind of coming up are definitely easiest to do in dirt. But the mini monstera, a really great option as well. Also, unfortunately, not pet safe. And then also the planter that it is in are these really heavy ceramic planters by, I believe it's La Joie. I am not probably saying that correctly, but really, really beautiful, really pretty planters. Like I said, let's see if I can pick this up. So as you can see, this one definitely grows straight upwards. So I put it into my bookcase, which is kind of its standard growing shelf, but this is that planter. I just wanted to kind of bring it a little bit closer to the screen so you can see another plant that will grow crazy, 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 and it likes to grow straight up. So if you can give it somewhere that it can trail up, it absolutely loves that. So another one that I also really like here is kind of they call it I've heard it called a friendship plant. I've heard it called like a Chinese money plant. I've also, obviously its name is Pilea peperomodius, but it's such a mouthful you won't hear many people call it that. Sometimes you'll even hear it called like pancake plant. That's another, kind of common name for it. But I really like these as well. I have both a large one and then one that I've propagated. Again, another really easy one to do in water. Kind of slide this one over. So you can see this is my kind of big mama plant, as the case may be. What this one does is it does create little babies. So you'll see these little tiny shoots here at the base and the bottom of the plant. All you have to do is pluck those little ones out and put them into water. Same thing, they'll just kind of root from the bottom, they'll take off. And then once you have some little roots, then you can just stick them into dirt. So I have it like here in this one. You can kind of see this is where they get that name of like pancake plant. They're just small, round, and flat that way as well. So they have very, very shallow roots. I've learned this the hard way, so they don't need a lot of water. They're actually closer to a cactus than they are a, you know, standard kind of plant, I guess, like whatever you want to call it, because their roots don't get super huge. It's very easy to like pot them in too big of a plant. All right, so one more I have behind me. Actually, I have a couple, but one more of my favorites is my rubber tree. This is also a really great one too. I find that they are very, very hard to kill. This is actually a really large one as well. Costa Farms has always been really good to me when it comes to getting any kind of houseplant or any kind of anything like that from the internet. Or, you know, if you don't obviously live somewhere that you can go to a nursery locally, any kind of like mail order plants are always a good option as well. I know that we all sometimes we're in cooler climates, or sometimes we just, you know, aren't anywhere near a good nursery or greenhouse. So sometimes mail is our only option. But this one is a really large one too. So if you're looking for one, this is where I got mine. It's a 24-inch ficus already. So it's a good size. But another one that's really easy to propagate. I did make the mistake, so I did say that these are pretty hard to kill, but I did spray it down one day and then stick it into the window. So it did get a little sunburnt on some of these lower leaves, the smaller ones. But another one that's really easy to kind of propagate, you can pretty much cut anywhere on that stem as well and stick it into water. You'll see that I did put it here. You can see that I did cut a little piece for that station as well. I've actually since replanted that one as well into a little bit of dirt. This is that same one. It's now kind of started to really take off. They just grow out from the very center and they'll grow up from there. I do have these little ones linked in the carousel as well. But I just kind of wanted to go through some really easy to propagate plants first. And then, of course, like how can I forget Monsteras? That's pretty much everyone's favorite. I will come back to these planters in just a second, but everyone's favorite Monsteras. This is another one from Costa Farms that's huge that you can get. This is the Monstera that I actually purchased from them. Mine has since expanded very, very much. This is not the size that you'll get from Costa Farms, but it is a very, very big Monstera. They grow like crazy. It's very easy. I think it's hands down probably one of the easiest to grow plants that I personally own. And I love propagating them because each time you kind of trim it back, it grows up and out like even more. So this one you can see has gotten so big that I needed some like support stakes, but they are a really awesome plant as well. So I have a couple different variations here. One, most specifically, this one over here, I've put into dirt already. So just kind of like the mini Monstera, you're looking for those little nodes. I do have one here behind me in the water. This is like one piece. I tend to propagate these in water, and then when they're ready, their roots go really, really crazy. They can go into the dirt, and they're great. So this is a really great set of planter pots as well. These are a set of 2. I like these. These are plastic, which makes them very, very affordable. They're very cheap, but I do like that they look really nice. This looks obviously like cork, but this is actually a removable tray on the bottom. So you do have the drainage holes here. So you can just set it in and then just kind of twist it back on, and it doesn't even look like there you go. It has a tray on it. Looks like this is a little kind of cork bottom. So again, those are just like super inexpensive. They're actually on deal, so I was excited to share those. But that's what they look like once they've kind of been put into dirt. However, like I said, I usually propagate these in water. I know that some of you are going to ask, you know, where this glass vase came from, and I apologize in advance. I don't, it's sold out. I already looked, but I did link one that's super, super, super close, in case you are looking for a recycled glass vase as well. So kind of pulling it over here, this one's actually like very heavy because this is full of water, but this will give you a good idea. So whenever I trim them back, I just, again, kind of snip off the stem right above or right below a root, and then you'll see that it just grows, let's go this way, grows out from there. So this is kind of all new root growth, and I just leave it in the water and let it kind of just do its thing until there's like a good amount of roots, and then I'll put it into the dirt like you just saw. So like I said, this, I'm going to highlight it again. This is the Monstera that I purchased from Costa Farms. They get so big. This is obviously all cuts from the one that I showed you in the video because they grow like crazy. Plus I love a plant that like wants you to trim it, and it gets like bigger and better each time you do trim it. So gonna put this one back. It's again very, very heavy because it's full of water. Let's see here. I did skip over a couple because we're just gonna skip to the succulents part. So this is another really great option. This is kind of why my mom's here to help, because succulents tend to not be as much my friend as I would like them to be. However, you know, succulents for many people are like one of the easiest things to grow pretty much across the board. So I am gonna tab this back here. I'm terrified of breaking it. And then we can kind of continue from here. So this is just a big set of succulents. So these all come in like very, very tiny growers pots. So you'll often see them kind of like in these little cups. And I actually link those in the carousel too, because if you are propagating your plants, these are a really great option just because too big of a pot, oops. This is why I'm doing it in my kitchen too, so that the dirt trickles down onto my countertop. But if you put something that you just propagated with its tiny little roots into too big of a pot, it's the easiest way to get root rot and ruin your plants. So I'm gonna set this one over here. This is actually one we're gonna repot in just a second, but I did link up like a big kind of like bundle of different succulents. I do believe there are, these are called hen and chicks. I do believe those are in that set, as well as jade, which is also in that set, and a few different like easy to grow succulents. So what we are going to do is kind of talk about some succulents and kind of how easy they are to grow, and then kind of just repot one here and then kind of go from there. So again, that set I really like because it's just like a big bundle of sets. Hey Margaret, how are you today? It's good to see you in the chat. So I did link up two, just so you can see again, basically, there you go. My mom's jumping in. It's always good to use a good cactus potting mix. I agree. The one that I linked and one that I added into the carousel is one that I've pretty much been using for a lot of my different plants. It's primarily used for fiddle leaf figs because they are very, very picky, but I do like it. It does have lots of like perlite in it. It does also have a lot of sand. It has coconut in it, so it helps like pull water off. I've used it on succulents. I've had good luck with it on succulents. So There's definitely a lot of really good cactus specific dirt out there, but more than anything else, rocky, sandy, and very quick draining is going to be your like best bet across the board when it comes to making sure your cactuses don't die. So let me scroll back again. Talking about succulents and some different planters, like I said, more than anything else, if you are repotting, or not just repotting, but if you're kind of propagating succulents, keeping the container small enough, super important. So I did add up here, just like we were talking about, those little growers pots. Really small, really tiny. These are like 2-inch ones here. I like those too because I find that like the growers pots will keep the water in just a little bit longer. And you don't have to necessarily worry about the style of planter. Something like ceramic like this, or porcelain, anything like that will tend to hold water longer than like terracotta, for example. So growers pots just kind of even the playing field out like that. Evan says, I didn't know they made cactus potting mix. Yes, they do. They make all sorts of potting mix. Like I said, I've gotten pretty loyal to the fiddle leaf fig soil just because I think it's that kind of perfect mix between being sandy and, you know, your kind of standard dirt that you might just think of when you're, you know, picking up a bag. I've been burned really badly by some like really poor quality mixes before, so like I said, I'm pretty loyal to that one. So if you're not using the little growers pots, I would suggest any of these like little 2-inch succulent planters. So let me tab back really quick. A good example are these. I did just highlight them. They come in a 6-pack, a few different designs. This, of course, is the one that the hen and chicks I'm going to put in, and this is the one that my mini Monstera is in. You can see here. I will say that they do have their drainage hole, and they do come with a little bamboo coaster, a little tray on the bottom, and then that is kind of where, if any extra water is in there, it kind of will catch there as well. Bamboos are really great, sustainable material, but if you let those trays sit in water, they will start to get a little bit of mildew on them, so you do want to be careful about that. If you want something a little bit kind of almost like dressier, I like these. They're super fun. The bright color, I love. They come in 6 different shades. These are kind of a glossy, shiny ceramic instead of being more matte. They're also a little bit shorter and then a little bit wider, which is good if you're going to pick off leaves or if you're going to lay something on top to propagate that way too. Less depth means less soil that sits there for a little bit longer. Hey Kirk, thank you to C Kirk who pressed follow. Awesome, thank you for joining in. All right, so just talking about all of that, let's talk about a couple different ways to propagate. Like I said, I'm going to replant this one. This one actually came to me in the mail. My mother sent it over, and she also did this video for us so that you can kind of see how you would propagate these. If you've ever seen them, they kind of get their name from the structure of the plant that they are. A hen and chicks, because they pull out this very long trail. These will actually grow almost like on, I guess you'd call it a vine, sort of. It kind of shoots out. It's a shoot off of the main plant. So you can kind of see here is what they look like when you're kind of getting ready to propagate them. As you can see, like right there too, kind of just pulling off the leaves right at the bottom of the stem. Any one of those leaves you could absolutely set on the soil and spritz with a little bit of water, and they will also root that way as well. I actually have one kind of doing that in this one. But the easiest way, as you can see, just giving yourself a little bit of stem, and then that is what you can put directly into the soil that way. So that kind of long tail that you see is the kind of shoot, the sprout, the tentacle, whatever you want to call it, that comes off of that main plant. That's what you just want to cut off and then trim it so you just have a little bit of a stem right there. So really easy. You kind of just make it look like a little tree and then you can just stick it into the dirt that way. I have it highlighted right here. So one really good, I don't, Star says tentacle. I don't know what, I don't really know what you want to call it. It's literally just a shoot that the plant sends off. So I'm going to call it a tentacle for the time being, but let me take this video down, but you can see just kind of how you would pull it apart essentially and kind of set it up to be propagated. This is what I do have. I guess I can leave this up here. This is what I do have kind of highlighted on the screen right now and in the carousel. This is kind of one of the, I feel like one of the easiest ways to have the most success when it comes to kind of propagating, especially succulents. This is a rooting powder. So this is garden safe. This is the TakeRoot. All you really have to do is give it the little tiniest bit. Just again, stick the end of the plant, whether it's a leaf of a succulent or it's the kind of stem in this case, just stick it into the root powder and then it can just go right into the dirt. It just stimulates essentially the stem, the node or whatever, and helps it just grow a little bit better that way. So very, very easy to use. Also super in, my mom says, so instead of tentacle, let's call it an umbilical cord from the main plant. I mean, that's a perfectly good use as well. It's that shoot. So whatever you want to call it, that's kind of how it sends out its little offsprings. I like that, the little babies on the other side. So Margaret says, I love this. I do not have a green thumb. I would need fake succulents. I can promise you that succulents are not my, those are not my best. I'm proud to say that the ones that the ones that are in this live stream are ones that I haven't killed, which means they're fairly easy to grow on your own. So, so kind of talking about that again, that is your rooting powder. Just again, very easy to use. It just gives your plant that little bit of extra boost. It's a little bit of extra stimulation. I think it's a little bit of kind of fertilizer too, and it just makes it really easy for the plant to kind of jump on and grow as well. So again, I did already mention that soil. I have it here too. I kind of poured some into a cup because I knew I didn't want the whole bag here on my kitchen counter. But you can see again, just like we mentioned, having a really good succulent soil, really important. I like this one again. It is kind of geared towards fiddle leaves, but it has like really big pieces of bark in it. It has a lot of sand in it, so it doesn't hold water, and it has worked well for a really large amount of my plants. You can always make your own. I guess this is kind of a DIY festival as it is, but you can still make your own. You can buy all the individual ingredients, sand, perlite, all that, and kind of mix and match. But I feel like this is a really good blend of soil. So I've just kind of continuously like went back to this one like over and over again. So, all right, let's just kind of put this into the container. I'm going to take down this rooting powder just so you can see. And like I said, I've had this one in those little containers. I'm going to slide back. Oops. As you can hear my messages going off. I'm just going to highlight the planters that I'm using at this exact second. But all I'm going to do is just take a little bit of the soil, put it right here in the bottom right now. As always, drainage holes, super, super, super important. I'm trying not to like spill this all over my counter. So obviously as much dirt kind of from the original plant that you can leave is kind of crucial, I feel like. The least that you like, the least amount that you can disturb them, the better when it comes to that. So I'm just going to kind of pick the dirt that's already in here and just kind of put it into the pot. But again, as with like most succulents, they don't really have that big of a root system at all. So just going to kind of see what's happening. So just like we were talking about a little bit earlier, you can propagate not just from the stems, kind of like what you see in the video, but you can also propagate from the leaves. I find that I have not as much luck when it does it like this, but they will start to grow just right from the end of the leaf, just kind of like this. So if you wanted to just pull them off, kind of like my mom's doing in that video, and spritz them with a little bit of water, set them on top of the soil, they will do this. Eventually this kind of, when it stops feeding the plant, will die off, kind of shrivel up like a belly button. Is that how we want to refer to it? And you can just toss that, it'll have its own roots by that point. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of pick this up so you can kind of see, like I said, I'm not going to try to break up the root system anymore, but just kind of setting them in so that they come right to the top. Thank you. Keeping the soil light and fluffy. Succulents don't like compacted soil. Exactly. And I'm trying to just kind of like, when I'm doing it here, just kind of like taking it from my container and just literally pouring it into the planter, and not really worrying about packing it down or anything for that exact reason. Keeping it light, keeping it fluffy. I'll give you an idea. This is one that has its roots. It kind of like all the soil kind of fell off just now. And the last one. Succulents obviously don't like a ton of water, which is where I've gotten in trouble in the past. Just kind of giving it a little hole. And just dumping the soil on top here. Again, just like was mentioned, light, fluffy, making a mess, that's okay. Basically just kind of filling in the little areas around the stems wherever possible. So obviously, like I said, succulents don't like a lot of water. That's the easiest way to kill them. Trying to blow it off here. But I will say, once you do plant them, you do want to give them like a little bit of a good water, just because you have moved them to a new home. Obviously I'm not going to drench it, but I am going to give it just a good little rinse. And then I'm going to take the little guy that was right on top and just put his roots under just a little layer of dirt, just the tiniest little bit, and then give it a good water here. So but like I mentioned, with any of those leaves, obviously you can just set them on the very top of the soil when you're just now propagating, and they will do all of their own rooting on their own, kind of bury themselves in the soil however they need. So just like trying to very lightly cover this up, and then I'm just going to give it a little water at the top here. So just kind of switching it over, you can see I just very lightly just kind of put everything just so it's at the very top, peeking kind of over, and then this is your little leaf, not burying the leaf underneath all the soil, but just kind of setting it on top and burying its little roots. And then I'm just going to give it a little water here. So I'm going to scroll through here, and we have two different options when it comes to All right, switching over there. I'm still gonna vacuum after this, but I'm trying to like avoid as much vacuuming as possible. So a couple different options. I use these glass bottles. I just highlighted them to give any of my plants kind of like humidity during the day. This is just filled with water. It comes in a 2-pack. Easy to use. However, if you are propagating, I just now looked into the chat. My mom said the exact same thing. A nice spray bottle, a couple squirts will work first to not overwater. So exactly, she beat me to it. I'm just gonna take it and spray just a little bit on the top, specifically the little shoot that comes off of the leaf, because that's the one that's gonna need it the most, because it has the smallest little root system. So I'm just taking it, giving it a really good little squirt in here. Again, remembering that succulents don't have a super large root system, so you aren't going to want to get like all of that soil wet. And of course, rule number 1, I feel like of all succulents, is forget they exist, ignore them, neglect them, and they will be your absolute best friend. So finally kind of took this one out of the nursery pot. Anytime that you get a new plant from a garden, a greenhouse, in the mail, anything like that, I usually always try to avoid replanting it right away. I know everyone loves to replant right away, but you already shocked it, you already like traumatized it, so give the plant a little time to adjust before you kind of jump right in, putting it in its really cute pot. So I've had those for a little while actually in that pot, so it's definitely time that it gets moved out. Another really good plant, I just realized I kind of skipped over this, in that kind of bundled succulent pack that I kind of put here. This is like, I don't know how many it is, I think it's like 20 maybe different succulents here. You can actually get a bunch of different sizes. I linked a 20 pack, but there's 4, 5, 6, 12, 16, 20. So there are lots of different options there, but in that pack I do believe there's jade, and jade is another really good one that I was kind of sharing that can be propagated exactly like this one, where you just kind of take the stem, break it off, and you can put it right into the dirt. So I'm not going to break this one off, but jade also grows like crazy and it's very hard to kill. This is kind of one of those plants that you can like throw outside and it'll just start growing and you'll have a bush all of a sudden. But you just basically want to give it a few leaves. So wherever you kind of cut it, don't cut it too short. Give it some, maybe like if I was going to cut it, I'd probably cut it like right here. And then again, you can just stick it into that rooting powder, boop, just there again, and it can go right into your dirt and it'll take off. I got some, my mom sent me some in the mail, and it got very frozen sometime between here and there and all that. So resilient it is, and it will come back. Mine is not dead, so I've done a lot of worse things. So that's another really good one. And again, there is jade kind of in that kind of a bundled pack right there as well. All right, so if we are kind of talking about kind of going on, talking about a few different fertilizers and stuff like this, that kind of is what makes this like a DIY like festival live stream today, whatever the case may be. I did link here probably one of the, I personally think one of the best like fertilizers that you could possibly grab. I've had this a few different times. This is a vitamin solution. This is called SuperThrive. It's a liquid concentrate. This size is a 4-ounce bottle. This will last you literally forever. You want to use the absolute tiniest amount ever. I want to say, I'm going to pull up the needs, but this is also a really kind of great fertilizer for like if you need to kind of give your plant like a really good fertilizer, a really good kind of nutrition formula. It's also really good if you're using it with like transplants or anything like that. It kind of helps calm that down. The thing is I have also learned my lesson, though, that you do need to make sure that you're really following along with the directions, because if you do put too much, you can definitely give your plants a fertilizer burn. I've done it. Don't do it. It will kill your plants. You can definitely minimize the damage if you've done that, but it's not as easy as it would sound like it would be. But this is essentially just a really good, super nutrient-rich vitamin solution if you don't want to make your own, and you want like a one that really kind of packs a punch. So I definitely wouldn't get, unless you have like a huge outdoor garden or anything like that, I definitely wouldn't get one bigger than the 4 ounce, because the formula is the tiniest amount. Let's see if it says here. I think it's like the label is like wrapped on itself. It's a 1/4 teaspoon per gallon. So like you can understand like how, if it's a 1/4 teaspoon for a gallon, like how easy it is to literally oversupply and just absolutely burn your plants with too much fertilizer. So the tiniest bit, I would even get like an eye dropper and use it that way, just because you really don't want to use a lot. So again, when I say that it's a little bit goes a absolute long way, it's not an understatement whatsoever. But if we are being just a little extra today, this is my watering can. There are tons of super economical, very affordable, very inexpensive watering cans out there. This is the one that I like. I like to be a little extra. It's a little over the top. It is, however, stainless steel. Let's see here. Kind of hop over here just so you can see I actually have water in it, because I do need to water my plants today, but it just has that really long stem, almost kind of like your gooseneck size neck on it, just so that you can kind of get a little bit closer. Obviously, again, there are many super affordable options, but if you want something, or if you just want to get something really nice for your plant loving friends, this is what I would want. So just, go ahead. I just realized there's a little ladybug just crawling on my Monstera, so that's always exciting. Hang on, let me see if I can. And it is an actual ladybug. You can see. Yep. It's not a beetle. Okay, no, don't crawl on me, please. Do your thing, hang out with the plants. But again, if you're looking for something that's a little bit, higher end, that's kind of my pick today. I like it. Just a little something, again, extra there. Of course, like, I figured I would just go ahead and finish out with, like, no one wants to talk about bugs, but I feel like we need to. I think that's like number one when it comes to just like house plant control. Even your very best intentions when it comes to plants, at some point you're going to deal with fungus gnats or any kind of like little flies. I've actually been fighting a very big fight lately with thrips. I've had mealybugs in my plants before. It's been a lot. However, one of the easiest ways to kind of make sure that that doesn't happen is a really good quarantine process when you bring home a plant. So just like I was kind of talking about with the kind of like nursery pots like this, the grower's pots, leaving your plant in those and not just getting super excited to bring them home, putting them in a new pot. I would also recommend giving your plants a little bit of a quarantine to start off their kind of time home with you. So a few different options. Of course, I'll just start with, if you already have bugs, how I would kind of help rid yourself of them. First and foremost, more often than not, you're probably battling fungus gnats, which come all the time. Whether or not you have maybe you bought soil you can buy soil anywhere and it's going to have fungus gnat eggs in it. You could have brought it home from the greenhouse, from the nursery. It could have came in the mail order. Fungus gnats are notorious for laying their eggs in soil. If it's too wet, they hatch. Even if it's dry, they'll hatch. Sometimes they come out of nowhere, and I feel like you don't just have one, you have a bunch. So that's usually number one when it comes to plants. I feel like that's the number one bug you're probably facing, you're probably fighting. So starting off, we're just kind of like a two-step process with that, and then kind of working our way into kind of how you can control that going forward, or how you can kind of quarantine your plant in the very first place. I will say, however, you can be the most experienced and skilled plant owner in the entire world and still deal with fungus gnats. I feel like they're very unavoidable. There's no like perfect one size fits all step, unfortunately. It just is just what happens. And we all have been affected by it at some point. So this is my indoor fly fungus gnat catcher. In this event, I actually have one of the stickies in there already that has bugs on it. However, it looks just like this. It's a little fan on the top. So a lot of those bug zappers you'll see have, a zap. Obviously that's coming from the electricity. This just uses a fan. And then this does light up. I can plug it in really quickly here. It has a USB that it can attach to. So one thing I love about my kitchen island is that it has a USB in it, but it has two different settings, a standard and a low. And so when you do put it on that standard setting, it turns on this light, and then it also turns on the fan, and that's what pulls all of the bugs in, and then it'll stick them on the bottom here. So there's a little sticky pad there on the bottom. So I will open that up. I will plug my phone back in. Okay. So, kind of showing you here what that looks like. There's a little tab here on the bottom, and then when you open it up, you're gonna see the kind of flies and everything that stick there on the bottom. So it's a non-electrical, dangerous way to kind of combat your bug problem, and I think that it works really, really well. It is obviously a little bit more of an expensive option than some of the other ones, but it does work really, really well. And it kind of works in a larger space as well, or it works really well if you have a lot of them. And you want to get rid of the problem as soon as possible. This is going to be a good option as like a big first step. If you want to save a little bit of money, then this is another good option here as well. These are very inexpensive. They come in a couple different sets. I did link the ones today that are on deal, and then the ones also. These are all very similar. They all work in the exact same way. The one that is highlighted right now is just a bigger pack. And these ones as well, the ones that are a little bit less expensive, those are great ones too. Either one work well for your home. These are just a little bit different in that they kind of work more at like the plant level. So you do have this yellow triangle, which is what goes into the dirt. So you're just gonna put the yellow, let's go this way, the yellow triangle into the dirt, and then these are sticky pads here. So all you have to do is kind of pull it back and take off the kind of protective paper, and then this is your sticky. So flies and little bugs are going to be attracted to that yellow, and then they're going to fly onto it and get stuck and stick to that. These, of course, are single use. You're going to leave them in your plant for as long as you feel like you need to. Once they start getting a little bit covered with bugs, if you have a lot, I would take it out and toss it out. However, you know, there isn't necessarily a lifespan on these at all, but these are really inexpensive and just another easy way. The only drawback, of course, to these little sticky bug traps are that, you know, they can stick to your plant. If you have pets, sometimes I've had cats kind of rub up on them. So these are just a really easy way to use them as well. So little drawbacks, obviously these are cheaper. However, the fan might work a little bit better that way too. So two different options. They both work really, really well. You can kind of pick however many you would like, but do know, of course, if you are, you know, fighting the good fight against fungus gnats, you're not alone. We've all done it and we've all been there. When it comes to bringing a plant home or even like continuing the fight, it's not just enough, of course, to get rid of fungus gnats on either the sticky or in the fan. Sometimes you just need to kind of combat them more so, because obviously what you are doing is you're getting rid of the ones that have already hatched. They already are adults, but you need to get rid of all of the eggs and all of the babies. So a couple different options here. I kind of use this in a two-step process and kind of in a two-step formula with neem oil, and then also I've just now recently learned about Bonide. So I've kind of started using both of these together. As I mentioned, I've been fighting the good fight with thrips, and the Bonide capsules have really, really helped. So I would like to thank Reddit for actually introducing those to me, so I'm sharing them with y'all here too. So neem oil is a really great option. Both of these are pet friendly, very natural ways to kind of combat pests versus like using insecticide or any kind of chemical on your plants. So I will say neem oil is the smelliest stuff in the entire world. It's very gross. I would absolutely take your plants outside. Don't spray this in your house. It is so gross, but it works really, really well. So all you have to do, again, is you're taking that neem oil. This is in a spray bottle. It comes in a variety of different sizes. This is, what is this? This is the 24-ounce size. I feel like if you have a lot of plants, then it's not going to last a really, really, really long time. You want to give them a really thorough dousing each time you spray them. But this is, again, a pet safe and very like natural, organic kind of way to combat bugs. But like I said, it smells terrible. But when you are spraying it, you just want to make sure you get the top and the bottom of the leaves. So I'm not going to spray it because I'm indoors. But if you were, what I just do, again, is getting the back of the leaves, the front of the leaves, and then all the way kind of down the stem. One thing, too, about neem oil is you do want to make sure that you rinse it off. What neem oil will do is it's obviously, you know, its name is exactly what it is, right? It is an oil, so it will kind of affect the plant's ability to kind of process sunlight if you leave it on. So what I would do is, and what I usually do, is I'll spray it, I'll let it dry, and then the next day I'll just kind of go in and rinse it off, just kind of wipe it off. You don't have to like soak the plant or drench it or anything like that. Just kind of wipe its leaves down so that it can get that sunlight again. I don't think it's necessarily, you're not going to kill your plant if you leave it on too long. You're just doing it a little bit of a favor by giving it that little spritz there as well. So really, really natural option. Again, if you have pets and you're not wanting to use chemicals or pesticides, neem oil is definitely a good option. Like I said, it smells terrible, but I will say that this brand is one that I've repurchased quite a few times because it actually, you know, it doesn't smell as bad as, you know, it could. I've definitely used ones that are worse. So, all right, let's kind of finish out. Last thing, like I said, that's a very like topical spray. This is another option. Like I said, recently learned about it. And these are actually granules that you'll mix into the soil of your plant, and it doesn't harm the plant, but what it does do is when you do water it, the plant absorbs it, and then any of the bugs or anything that are on your plant that are plant munching bugs, so anything that eats leaves, destroys leaves, which is pretty much every kind of bug, will get killed by this, which is chef's kiss. So whereas you might want to use like the neem oil or something like that, definitely like on spider mites and things that are physically on the leaves, things that are kind of munching on the leaves, this is a good option for. I want to say that these aren't as good. They're not going to be good on spider mites just because of kind of how they go about damaging the plant. But like I said, I've been fighting a good fight against thrips, and they are terribly hard to kill. So this one you do use a little bit more than, definitely a lot more than the neem oil. So you can kind of see the measurements on the back. So it's really basically dependent on the size of container that it's in, whether you're kind of using it, it'll show you kind of metrics on there if you have a planter that's kind of measured in gallons, or if you have one, for example, that's like measured more in size. So like this one is, you know, an 8-inch pot or something like that. It's not a, you know, 9-gallon pot. But all you have to do is, it looks just like sand, essentially. And again, I'm not going to try to dump it out, maybe. It does kind of look, I think it looks like cat litter, honestly. Just kind of like sandy granules like this, and you will mix it into the soil, and then you want to give your plant a really good water. So you obviously, tip it this way. So you obviously don't want to completely drench your plant, because you don't want to drench it out, because obviously you're just going to take all of the crystals and then you're going to flush it right out of the plant. You want the plant to be able to absorb it, but you do want to give the plant a good water. In terms of kind of like what plants that you can use it on, you pretty much use it on any plants. I do know that it's really good for outdoor plants as well. Any kind of like a lot of roses and orchids and things like that, I've definitely seen. That was kind of the use that I saw when I found about it. The only thing you don't want to use it for is because the plant is taking up the crystals, and because it is absorbing into its branches and its leaves all of the chemical from here to kill the bugs. Don't use it on things you eat, i.e. don't use it on vegetables. I'm trying to see if it says anything else. Basically any kind of edible plant. Like, you don't want to eat this, you want to kill the bugs. So roses, flowers, orchids, all of that. Any indoor house plant, all of those are really good options for this. I have noticed a big difference. I'm finally kind of winning my battle against thrips, and I'm blown away by how quickly they can kind of start to destroy a plant. But you do just need to give it a little bit of time. I think that the like actual brand here, like the Bonide brand, will say like it takes up to like 36 hours, but I would plan on it taking longer than that. This is much more of like a kind of preventative treatment. Like if your dog had fleas, this is like to stop future fleas. And then something like the neem oil is to kill the fleas that are currently living. If you want the topical treatment of this, the essential, the spray version of this, you'll actually find it under, I think is it Captain Jack's Dead Bug? Jack's Dead Bug. I'm gonna look it up really quick. What's it called? Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. So that's essentially the spray version of the granules. But the granules actually, once you kind of mix them up into the dirt, last for 8 weeks. So You can, of course, kind of re-up it and redo it, but it will last for that long. As with all things, I would listen to the instructions and not put just a ton, because you have a big infestation. You definitely want to listen to, you know, the instructions on that as well. It's safe for all plants, like I said. Don't put it in plants that you're going to eat or your pets are going to eat. However, I will say every now and then you might see like a little yellow leaf or something like that, but that's pretty much normal as the plant's just kind of taking that up. So if you really have a battle that you seemingly haven't been able to win, this is going to be kind of like your best bet on that too. Plus, this is a really big bottle. I don't think I really meant to buy this big of one, so this will last you a really long time. It's just, it felt like a better deal to get 4 pounds versus 1 pound. You know how whenever you buy something, it's always cheaper to buy more in like a bigger bulk bottle. So yeah, so that gets us to the very, very end of this live stream and kind of just chatting about all of the different items and kind of the different pieces of how you can essentially kind of create your own home garden. We love all of that good stuff. Sure, you're headed off to, you know, the nursery or the greenhouse or whatever, but if you want to extend on past that and you do want to just, you know, continue to make your own garden at home and continue to kind of expand your houseplants for yourself or for, you know, anyone in your friend circle, then this is a really, really good kind of DIY way to do it. So we went through a absolute ton of plants. Of course, you all know that I'm a big plant lover, so went through succulents and kind of tropicals and all of that. So hopefully you learned something today. Hopefully it was fun for you. It was fun for me. And then of course I will be back later this week with some more like really great deals. If you haven't already, like I said, enter into the giveaway. I'll be reaching out to Evans to give them their gift card, but we'll start another one. It'll go until Monday of next week. We'll do the live stream then. I take that back. We're gonna do it on Friday. I will be traveling on Monday. Let's not do it on Monday. Let's do it very much Friday of this week. So you do have some time if you've watched this live or if you're watching this in its previously recorded format. So thank you, of course, for everyone who tuned in today. And then, of course, follow the channel, check it out. And I look forward to seeing all of you again on the very next one. So have a great Tuesday.